All right. We got people jumping in here. Welcome, everybody. Oh, we're excited. I like to see that number rising. Super excited to have you guys here for the webinar on wash, dry, fold, fluff and fold, drop off laundry service. It's got like 1,000 names, but super excited. We've got a couple of all-stars joining us for our panel. I'm going to give it just a second while people are trickling in before I introduce them, because I want everybody to know who they're hearing from today. But while we're starting here, why don't you throw in the chat there who you are, where you're from in the world. We'd like to see where everybody is. My name's Jordan Barry. I'm with Laundromat Resource, and I'm in Orange County, California, currently enjoying the sunshine. Let me introduce to you. We'll start West Coast, best coast, and then head east. Let me introduce you to Ariana Roviello. How's it going, Ariana?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Ariana owns Laundry in San Francisco, and super excited. Also, Ariana, I'll give you her bio in a second, but also one of the newest members of the Sense team.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
My role is a industry initiatives lead, and so it's a pretty kind of cool, fluid position. I get to work with all the different departments and figure out how we can make sense better.
Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds like a pretty legit title. So
very legit. Yes.
Kind of a big deal on multiple levels now.
Yeah.
Let me also introduce you to Paul Hansen out of Chicago. How's it going, Paul?
Good, Jordan. Can't complain. We're finally getting spring weather here, which we haven't had for the longest time. So it's kind of nice. You guys are used to all that warm weather out by you guys, but for us, it's always special to get spring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know watching, like the Bears games and stuff and seeing how cold it gets over there. I literally can't even imagine. I'm not sure I've been in weather below 0 degrees. Legitimately.
Me neither. I would not do well.
It's not fun. If I had a choice, I wouldn't either.
So. Yeah. Come on over to Cali. Hey, welcome to Cindy in Southgate, down the street from me. All right. Joe is in Indiana. Munster. All right. I don't know where Munster is, but it sounds like an awesome place. Do you guys know where Munster is?
I actually checked. I just responded. I'm in Munster. I live in Munster. So at St. John, where
oh, is that you? Oh, that's you.
Well, I responded to him. He said he's from St. John, which is the town next to us, which is pretty cool.
Dude, look at that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you know where Munster is then. All it says on there is P ... So I didn't know it was you. Daryl. All right, Berkeley. And yes, go Cubs. All right, you got a Cubs fan here. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Paul, you got to link up with Joe. All right, awesome. Well, hey, let me tell you a little bit about these guys real quick, and then we're going to jump in with wash, dry, fold talk here because we want to, make sure you guys are getting the information you need. And to kind of help me, two things I want to say to help me sort of guide this discussion is these two pros are giving you insights into wash, dry, fold. Number one is, hey, we want this to be interactive. We want to make sure we're answering your questions. And by we, I mean they are answering your questions. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat. My main job here, besides being eye candy, is to help facilitate the discussion here. And so
I'm not laughing.
It seems like you're laughing at me. I mean, it seems like that. No, but I want to make sure. So if you got questions that come up throughout this thing, throw them in the chat. The second thing real quick before I read these guys' bios to you is I'd like to know, and I think we'd like to know to help tailor this thing, where are you at in the process? Do you already have a wash, dry, fold service and you're hoping to grow it and expand it? Or are you trying to start one? Or are you just thinking about starting one? So if you could throw that in the chat and let us know where you're at in the process, that'll help guide this discussion also. Awesome. Thank you. Well, Ariana owns 2 stores in San Francisco, and she's been in the industry for about 5 years. Her stores are named Laundry, and recently nominated by just an incredible host at the Laundromat Millionaire Conference as one of the nicest laundromats in the world. So congrats to you on that. That
Oh
seems like a
yeah,
big
thank
deal.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the big vote of confidence there.
Yeah, no, but seriously, awesome stores. With their store, she focuses on improving space, service, and sustainability to help modernize the laundromat experience. Doing an awesome job at that. Paul, it says here that he's third generation laundromat owner who's been involved in the business in some fashion since being a teenager. However, we chatted yesterday and he said technically it was since he's in diapers. So my favorite line of our discussion was, you started out in diapers, and the way things are going, you're probably going to end in diapers with laundromats also. So that was my favorite quote there. But after working as a CPA for several years, he was drawn back into the business, purchased first store in 97. Since then, he's owned, purchased, developed multiple laundromats, currently owns 5 in Chicago, along with pickup delivery service and obviously wash, dry, fold. Former president of the Illinois Coin Laundry Association and currently on the board of the CLA and the Laundry Cares Foundation. So that's who we're dealing with here. We've got a couple pros, and let's get this thing kicked up. All right, thinking of starting the service. Awesome. So Paul, let's start with you. I mean, you own 5 laundromats. You've been in the business for a long time personally, and your family. What caused you to get into wash, dry, fold?
Well, it probably about 10, 11 years ago. For the longest time, never did wash, dry, fold. Didn't want to deal with it. It was always felt that it would take away from the cleanliness of our locations. It was always, didn't want to do that. We always pride ourselves on having the cleanest spots around. So, but as time went on, I read more and more about it, did a lot of research, actually talked to Jeff Gardner, the famous laundry doctor in Minnesota there, and about it, and got some more information and decided it'd be worth it. The big reason was, for me at the time, was to give my employees more to do and give them a commission to give them a little bit extra money without actually having to worry about raising their wages, but just more based on production. So kind of started out slow. Our stores weren't even built out for drop off. I had to actually have 2 of them where I had room to have counters and rooms built out just to be able to put the stuff. But the employees took to it really well. They appreciate it. They appreciate the tips. They appreciate the commissions, and it's been growing ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. Maybe we can explore that a little bit, because I think a lot of people get into this business wanting it to be a little more hands off and are concerned about adding a service like a wash, dry, fold service and how that's going to play out. And then kind of on the other hand, some people are like, hey, I want to turn this into a bigger business, extend my sphere, reach a new customer demographic. And so that's why wash, dry, fold is intriguing. Ariana, why'd you start wash, dry, fold? How'd you start wash, dry, fold? Tell us about your experience with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much part of our, business plan from the get-go. So when we opened in 2017, our first location, we kind of did like a soft rollout. Like, I didn't really advertise it a lot at first because we had a lot of different components to that first space, cafe, laundromat. And so I wanted to make sure we could kind of get our sea legs before we started a third thing. So I think it didn't really start ramping up for us until about 6 months in. And then the demand got pretty good, and we started also being approached by commercial accounts and stuff like that. And so, and ultimately, similar to Paul, it's we are fully attended at all times. I wanted to make sure that, our employees were staying active during their shift and making sure that they're processing. And then, the margins can be pretty great with wash and fold as well. So I figured, kind of why not? And we do cater to, I'd say, definitely a clientele that requests wash and fold a lot.
Yeah. And you guys are both, Paul, real quick, how urban of an environment or suburban of an environment are your laundromats in?
I'm in a pretty urban environment, and that was one of the concerns, whether we're in more working class, lower income neighborhoods. And that was one of our concerns, whether people who in that demographic would use a service like this, because it is a premium service. I mean, but surprisingly, that it hasn't been an issue. And even on our pickup and delivery, we go to areas that I would not have dreamed people would pay the extra price to have it picked up and delivered. But they do. So it's pretty cool.
Time saver.
Yeah, exactly.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, because I think that's a question that a lot of people have is like, how do I know if I try to make the leap to start wash, dry, fold in my laundromat, how do I know if people are going to use it? There is an investment to get that started. It doesn't have to be a huge investment, but there is an investment there. So do you have any tips, either one of you guys, for how to know whether wash, dry, fold is something that maybe should be added to your laundromat or not?
Paul, you're welcome to
Yeah.
speak.
I mean, really, there's no way until you do it, until you
Yeah.
actually do it to see what happens. I mean, you can get into it pretty low cost. I mean, if you have a laundromat, you can just say, hey, I'm going to do wash, dry, fold. Here's the price, and we'll do it. And you already got the equipment. And if you're attended, you already have the labor. So that's most of the battle right there. So give it a try. If it doesn't work, you pull the plug on it. It's you're not going to lose a whole lot.
Yeah. And it's pretty easy. I think, you want to make sure like, what exactly do you want to offer based on like what types of services, what things will you do and maybe not do? It's a little bit of trial and error, I think, with everything. When you have like a smaller business, but yeah, we just kind of listen to customer feedback. And then if we saw like, oh, like people are bringing like animal beds in a lot, like let's put that on our like fixed price menu. So like we have something for that, or, a lot of down items. Okay. So like, what do we do for those? And just like implement protocols with like your team so they understand exactly how to treat certain items. And then we kind of go through like a pretty rigorous like folding training to make sure that every attendant's like on the same page, and a customer can have it done by any employee and it'll pretty much come out the same way. Yeah. And then basically then how you want to package and present that. Like, is it in a poly bag? Is it in their own bag? Are you supplying the bag for new customers? Like you can kind of decide all those things. Yeah, kind of as you go.
Yeah, I love that. And that sort of hints at the sort of the E-Myth revisited, or like the franchise, like the McDonald's model, right? Like providing a consistent product, no matter McDonald's, no matter which teenager is making your burger across the country or the world, it's going to be the same, right? Because of that training process. Same thing with the laundry and teaching them how to fold and how things are done. I like that. One thing I would throw in there, just as a caveat, I think you can kind of shortcut a little bit of that trial and error by doing things like this and hearing what other successful operators are doing, and by networking with other people, who are doing what you're trying to do, and seeing, what things are they charging, specific set amounts for, or how are they presenting their stuff. So yeah, so trial and error for sure, but also glean some of that info, from people. Paul, I mean, has it been all, roses and sunshine and rainbows? Have you had any struggles kind of getting this thing going and running it along over the years? I mean, I imagine it's just been smooth sailing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a few hiccups here and there.
Okay.
The biggest problem is, like I said earlier, we weren't set up for this. So as our volume grew, it's a bit of a trouble finding a place to put everything. Trying to keep storage. We've actually bought some rolling, locking shelving units that we found spots in the store that we can put them in there. And actually kind of an advertising thing too, because they can see all the bags all lined up nice and neat and folded in there, and with all our orders. Trying to get everyone on the same page with 5 stores and a lot of employees, and many of my employees, English is not their first language, and in many cases not even their second language. So it's very difficult for me sometimes to impart what I want done. So I have to rely on bilingual staff to help me develop training and come up with ways to do things. Like I said, it's like the McDonald's idea. I mean, I want it store A and store B. I want people not to know that they took it to a different store. It's the same process, same packaging, everything, folded the same way. And that's a challenge of trying to get that many people on board and trained up that well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that language barrier, I mean, that's legitimate, and it kind of doesn't matter where you are, right? There's a lot of times there's going to be that language barrier, and finding ways to overcome that, and overcome it in a way where you're, like you said, providing a consistent product, every time. Ariana, how about you? Any unique struggles for you or similar stuff?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, storage has always been a big challenge. Our first location, we're pretty tight for space for wash and fold.
How big is that space?
It's about like 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
It's not that big. And
This,
and then like our back storage area is like very tiny. We have to be very creative with how we use the space. My second one, space, like I accounted for that. I don't think I realized when I first opened the first one, like just how much volume we would be doing. And so I didn't really account for storage. So obviously the second one, you learn a lot, the next one. And so my second one has far and away more storage. It makes it a lot easier. But generally like it's not too difficult, like in the sense that like not a ton of hiccups. I think it's just, again, to what Paul said, is just making sure everyone's on the same page, you're training everyone, and then you have like kind of like the right, system to help you like keep everyone's orders in track and make sure nothing's getting like mixed. So like having the correct bag tags per machine and moving them over and being like very cautious and efficient with stuff like that is important.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's flip it over to the other side. Okay. We don't want to talk about how all the things that can go wrong. What do you see in Ariana? How about we'll start with you. What are you seeing that's working for Wash Dry Fold? What's kind of contributed to your success in implementing this service in your business?
Yeah. So, I mean, a few things. So for the longest time, we didn't do any pickup and drop off. I was like very nervous about that. It's a whole different like logistical nightmare, one might say sometimes, but so I was really hesitant to do it. And so what was really cool is like in August of last year, we launched with Sense, the DoorDash feature, which has been really, really cool to see how much growth we just have. Like we can just grab more of San Francisco. And because it's interesting, like unlike some other cities, San Francisco is still pretty like new when it comes to wash and fold. Like I feel like some people don't even realize that it's an option. So we're really doing our best to like get really great exposure when it comes to this. So since we launched with DoorDash in August, we've seen like a 50% increase in like our revenue for wash and fold, which has been really cool to see. And it's not to say like we don't put in a lot of work to make that happen, right? We run Google ads, Facebook ads, like every type of ad will retarget you until like your brain goes numb, like so that you do wash and fold with us. But like it's really given us like a great platform to reach more of like the city. Because generally I would say before that, we did have people that would drive a distance to like drop off with us, but that's not every person. More people are doing it out of convenience. So they want their laundromat to be close. So that's been really, really great. And then we also offer like incentives, like for example, Tuesdays and Thursdays for us are kind of like a slower self-service day. So we offer like a consistent, discount on those days to like encourage people to drop off with us. And so that keeps the attendants really busy. We see like higher volume those days. So yeah, those are a couple of things that have been working really well for us. I hope I answered your question. I think there was like maybe another component to it, but remind me.
No, I mean, that was great. That talk, I mean, what I like about all the things that you're saying is that this is like creative fodder here, right? Like not everything that's going to work for you is going to work for everybody, but it gets the juices flowing. It's, sharing those ideas helps people, contextualize it in their context. So, I mean, I love that. Paul, I mean, have you seen specific things working well for you to help you, that business thrive for you?
Yeah, I think just taking that extra step. I mean, we, one of the things we added, which has been real helpful, is that, we've got a heavy duty built detergent that we use because we have a lot of construction people that want it, and a lot of them love that because they can bring in the filthiest work clothes and we can clean them up for them. So I think that's helped a lot. And just our attendants are from the neighborhood, they live there, and they're our best marketers right there. People see what they're doing, and they love it, and they realize that it's how convenient and time saving it is, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got a question that came in from an anonymous attendee. Ooh, sounds so ominous. So a big issue, especially as volume increases, is avoiding mixing up customer laundry. How do you make sure that the people who send you their or drop off their clothes get those clothes back, and only those clothes and all of those clothes? How do you do that? Paul, you want to jump on that first?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a system, obviously. We went through some fits and starts, and we came up with a system basically that, we print off for as many machines as they think they need. We'll print out tickets for that customer, and that ticket follows that order from start to finish. When they put it in the bag, the ticket gets attached into the cart. The ticket gets attached to the cart. When it goes to the washer, they get attached to the washer. Same for the dryer, the folding table, all the way through the process. That helps. The other thing we found is we really, I have very high speed, soft mount washers. So a lot of times socks would go missing, and we determined where they were as they're stuck up in the top of the tumbler because it was so, threw them up there. So we, put a policy there that they have to make sure they give it a spin every time just to make sure they're getting anything that's been laying around. And that eliminates almost all the problems. I mean, I'd say we don't have a few mix-ups here and there, especially if we're really busy and two people are working right next to each other, folding too close together. That you might get a few things that get cross-contaminated. But said the vast majority, probably 99% of our orders, we don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, awesome. And Ariana, I mean, I know, having a software solution helps you manage all this stuff, right? And so maybe Ariana, you can talk a little bit about how do you utilize Sense software specifically. I mean, any software, but you specifically use Sense software, right? How do you utilize that to help you make sure the right people get the right clothes every time? Again, that franchise consistent product.
That mindset. Yeah. I mean, we have a very similar system to Paul in the sense that that ticket that's printed, via Sense with all the customer information and what cycle they want, what type of dry they want, any specifics, it's all on that tag. They follow it to a T. It goes from point A to point B with that order, no exceptions. And then we also do a spin at the end because you'll find some smaller things lingering in the wash. And so kind of really proud to say we've never really had a mix up, knock on wood. So it can be pretty simple. You just have to make sure you're accountable for that really important ticket. Sense definitely helps make it easier to manage customer preferences, exactly what they want for that order. And it helps them be really specific so that you can, service the order better.
Yeah. And I'll throw in, I mean, I think, anonymous attendee, made a good point. Somebody said 99%, but that 1% can add up as your volume increases. Right. And so, I mean, going back to what you guys said, and this is what I think you guys are saying anyways, is you got to be meticulous about how you're training your employees about, and how important that is. I had a guest, I can't even remember who it was now. Sorry to whoever said this on the podcast, but I had a guest who said, hey, the amount of money that's represented by the laundry that people are giving you, it could be $1,000 plus worth of clothes, right? That somebody's giving you. And you need to, as the owner, recognize that somebody's giving you valuable stuff. And as the owner, you need to impart that on your employees. Hey, this stuff is very valuable to people, right? And so we need to treat it like it's $1,000 bill, right? So keep your eyes on it, take care of it, be meticulous, that, spin the thing after, make sure there's no socks or underwear stuck to the top of the washer, after a cycle, make sure everything immediately gets transferred from the washer to the dryer, from the dryer to the folding table, from the folding table into whatever you're packaging it in, that onto the shelf, and it's labeled and everything's good, using that software solution to track the whole way. Another thing that I know a lot of top operators do is they have cameras everywhere that follow the path of everything. So if something does happen, if something does go wrong, you or your manager or an employee or somebody can go back to the cameras and track along with it and say, oh, look right here, the underwear fell out of the cart and nobody noticed and it got thrown in with somebody else's, right? Or whatever the case may be. So utilizing the software and being meticulous about tracking that stuff, which the software helps you do.
Yeah, because you can also put like a rack number. So for like
Mhm.
storage in the back, you can be like, okay, it's going to be on rack 5. So also when someone's picking up their laundry or a driver's picking up the laundry, you know exactly where to look for it, which is really helpful. Another thing we do that's really helpful is like an employee needs to finish the order before they like do a break or lunch or anything like that. Like I don't want like half folded order, like you know, sitting there for 30 minutes. That's like not great. So it's like they have to complete it, put it in the back before they can kind of like leave the station for a bit, just to make sure nothing goes awry.
And then we also do, I don't know if you do it, Ariana, but we have whoever does the order does it from start to finish. We don't have folders and launders, you know, it's all the same person. And we found that that was best for accountability. You can go right to Maria and say, Maria, this was your order start to finish. You can't say that, Jane folded it for you. It must be her fault. So that helped out a lot too.
And it's nice that Sense has the like employee tracking. So let's say like James does the intake, but then he's leaving for the day and Mary is doing the processing, like you can see that. And so if there's like a weird thing with the charge, you would talk to James. If there's a weird thing with the folding, you would talk to Mary. And so it's like very clear to, to figure out like, if something is weird or doesn't look right. It's really nice to have that visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, hey, that also helps you keep your employees, like if you start noticing that, James is just losing laundry left and right, then some intervention needs to happen, whether more training or you just need to slap them, or you need to don't slap them, I'm just kidding, or you need to let them go, but that helps you. And so having a software system that can help you track who's doing what, or having one person own the order throughout. And I know that helps a lot of people there too. Okay, awesome answers, guys. Awesome. How about pricing? How do you determine pricing for a wash, dry, fold? And if you want to throw in pickup and delivery also, how do you determine what you should be charging? Paul?
Yeah.
Just what your market will bear, really. I mean, ours, around here in Chicago, it was always forever $1 a pound, which was insanely low, I thought. But we've, generally, every year we go up a little bit. We're up to $1.25 now, which is, probably at the high end for most of our competitors, but it hasn't affected our volume at all. The pickup and delivery, I actually started at a real low price because I didn't know how it would take off. I really didn't, and this was before there was any software solutions. We were kind of trying to do it by hand, and, we had no idea what we were doing. So, and that's, again, we just kind of look and see what everybody else is charging now. It's a lot easier to do research on your competitors because everyone's got ads out there and web pages and everything else that tells you what they're charging. So we try and price ourselves basically right in the middle of the market there. A little bit lower down in the south end. Like I said, we do a lot of working class, lower class neighborhoods. So we're not charging that premium price, but for some of the higher end ones that are a little bit farther away from our store, we have a higher price point for those.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Ariana?
Yeah. I mean, we take into consideration just, basic expenses, right? Utilities, rent, all that stuff, labor, to make sure that like we're at least covering those things. And then, yeah, I've never been of the mind to like be too competitive with pricing, because I just feel like, we work hard to offer something that's hopefully better. And so right now we're $1.80 a pound for like our 24-hour service. And then those kind of tend to go up based on like the urgency. And then I think, we've had the same pricing for walk-in versus pickup and delivery, but I think we're also going to change that shortly, just to kind of help take care of those extra like costs. And I don't know if it'll be a price per pound or it'll be like a higher minimum pound. Like, right now it's a 15-pound minimum. So maybe we'll make that a little bit higher for delivery orders. But yeah, so we've never had like an issue really with our pricing.
Yeah. And if you don't know where to start, you can kind of start by just looking around and seeing where people are too and adjusting. I mean, you've heard this already. Paul's mentioned something a couple of times. Ariana's mentioned something a couple of times about how they've adjusted throughout, right? It's all this trial and error, and you're going to adjust, right? The important thing is if you want to start a wash, dry, fold, if you haven't done that yet, decide to start and go. And then you can adjust along the way, either through trial and error and or through talking to people like Ariana, Paul, and others who have successful businesses. So awesome. Do both of you guys, well, how do you guys run? Well, okay, let me back up here for a second. So there's a question here about DoorDash integration, which is an awesome feature that Sense offers, right? And it's just basically a switch that you flip in the software that says, hey, we will allow basically pickup and delivery orders to be, brought to us and delivered back to the customer through a third party like DoorDash, right? And so what that does is allow you to offer pickup and delivery with essentially just having a wash, dry, fold service, right? And Ariana, I think you use DoorDash integration, right?
Yeah, we do. And we use that like exclusively as far as our like delivery, pickup and delivery service goes. And it is like surprisingly easy. Like there's nothing else that your like employees or you really have to do. It in the tablet, it notifies you when you have an order en route, and vice versa when a driver is going to pick up that order to return back, and the customer schedules everything by themselves. You don't have to do a thing. And so as far as your processes go, like in store, like nothing really changes. So it's been really great and a really cool way to test like which zip codes in your area, like you're getting the most traction from. And like, maybe then it makes sense to like get your own drivers or invest or into doing that. But it's a cool way not only to test the market, but just to have like a bigger reach in your area.
Yeah. Paul, just out of curiosity, do you utilize that part of Sense also?
We have started to do it. We haven't gotten a lot of traction yet, but to be honest, I'm in the process of revamping all my digital marketing. So I haven't really gotten an effective advertising strategy. The hard part has been for me, because I do the traditional van that goes out and picks up. Mm-hmm. So and that's under a separate brand name than my laundromat. So trying to figure out how to make that work, because there's, you can have our van or you can have DoorDash, and then we have different price points because obviously there's a cost with DoorDash that, don't get on with the van. So we charge much more for the van, less for the door. It's kind of a work in progress. We're hoping to get this thing figured out relatively soon and get more traction on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely, it's relatively new to our industry. So I think, people are still figuring it out, and, it's a little simpler, for someone like Ariana, who's solely using that and doesn't have the other part to try to integrate them together. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. And go back to the trial and error. That's what it's all about. Right. Ariana, are you, go ahead.
And just being able to like pivot accordingly, like listen to the feedback. You'll improve as you go. Like nothing's going to be perfect straight out the gate, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you offer subsidies for DoorDash for delivery?
Yeah, we do. So we offer $5 each way. So basically $10 an order. I think it's very specific to like where you are and what your consumers are used to. So like, in San Francisco, people are very used to ordering through DoorDash for a variety of things. And I just kind of wanted our delivery fee to be comparable to what it might be like if you're ordering a salad or some food or whatever. And I felt like, having it about, I think they pay about like $4.50 each way. And that feels like a pretty good deal, especially if you're like giving someone like bags and bags of laundry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me see what we got here. So, I mean, somebody asked, Waleed kind of already chimed in on this. What's up, Waleed? Welcome. If you guys don't know Waleed, search up Commerce and Chill podcast. You'll learn about Waleed. He's awesome. But just to throw it to you guys, somebody asked is can you do a wash, dry, fold service with a 900 square foot laundromat? Is that possible?
it all, well, and I think it depends on your storage space. There's actually a guy I've talked to who's got a 3,500 square foot store, and he does about, I think he's got 10 trucks and he does about 50 orders per truck per day, which is just, I have to go see it because I have no idea how you can do it in a 3,500 square foot store, how you can not be on top of each other. But yeah, you can absolutely. It all depends on how organized you are and how much your volume is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, great answer. And, you know, there's, you know, one of the things about human beings is that we are creative problem solvers, right? If there's a problem in front of us, we can solve it. If you make that decision, hey, I'm going to offer a wash, dry, fold service, or I'm going to offer a pickup and delivery service, and you got 900 square feet to work with, there are ways to figure out how to make that work. I think, you know, one of the main obstacles is going to be storage, and having enough capacity to do enough. But once you have so much capacity, you don't have enough washing machines, that's probably a good time to expand and buy another one or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I think
see like a few operators, not to interrupt, but who, you know, started wash and fold in a very small space. I think Wally's one of them. And then Daniel Logan is another, who they ended up not offering self-serve anymore because their wash and fold business was just booming, and you know, maybe the margins are better or whatever it is that they decided like made more sense. And so then it's just like a little processing plant.
Yeah, and we do that. I mean, we do all our pickup and delivery orders overnight. You know, when we are open for the public, but there's very little retail traffic those days, as opposed to today, we have pretty high volume during the days for retail customers. So yeah, that was the first idea. Is I got all these machines that are sitting there not doing anything, you know, in the middle of the night. Let's put them to some good use. So that helped out a lot. We're not really stepping on customers and making them, oh, I can't get a machine. These guys are all over it. So that helped us out a lot. Although there's challenges there, trying to find people to work those shifts and being able to properly supervise people on those shifts. I'm not going to be there at 3 a.m. So, you know, you have to good camera system and good people that you can trust that kind of manage that for you.
Yeah. Awesome. And, you know, Daniel Logan, I saw, you know, through a comment about this in the chat there, and Daniel Logan, who was on the podcast, but he operates out of 700 square feet. And so I think, you know, he was thinking about expanding. He had an extra 200 square feet, or maybe he had 500 and is expanding to 7, but he's got a small space and he runs, you know, a pickup and delivery and wash, dry, fold out of that. So for sure, go check out Daniel Logan's and Waleed's episodes of the Laundromat Resource Podcast if you're interested, and connect up with those guys if you're looking at a small space. Okay, let's see. Talked about that. Real quick, Ariana, you can answer this quick, I think. Any special qualifications DoorDash drivers need to have in order to be able to offer the pickup and delivery side of things?
A vehicle.
Okay.
No bicycle or moped or, you know, anything like that. But ultimately, DoorDash is in charge of kind of vetting, you know, all the dashers and making sure that they're well qualified. But yeah, ultimately, there's I believe DoorDash and Sense have a very good agreement to only allow dashers with vehicles to pick up laundry versus bicycles or on foot. No one wants to do
that. Hiking with a big backpack.
Yeah, exactly. Not ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Ronak, I saw that comment. Paul, can we just zoom out here for a second? Can you walk us through the process that laundry goes through? So let's say I walk into your laundromat and I drop off all my dirty clothes and I say, can you do something with this? And you say, no problem. Can you walk me through that laundry's journey until it gets back to me?
Sure. I mean, for the regular, you know, traditional drop off, it's, you know, they come in, you know, weigh their clothes. They get charged. We have 2 price points. We have a prepay and a postpay, and the postpay is ridiculously high, so no one ever uses it, but we do offer it. So they pay for it. It gets weighed. Like you said, it's entered into the system. And then usually my attendants get going on it right away. And this is for the traditional, you know, drop off, like I said. So they'll print up the tickets that they need, and they'll just go to work. They'll sort them, put them in the machines, following the tickets everywhere along the route. When they're done, take them in the dryer, dry them up, and then bring them in and fold them into our specifications and package them in. We use a poly bag, a thicker poly bag. We found that those work good. A lot of customers don't even want a cloth bag. They just want that poly bag that they can carry. And so we have to get one that's thick enough that doesn't fall off the bottom. We've had problems with other ones we've tried that do that. And then, depending, with the system we're using now, they'll get a text that your order's done, come on and get it. And they come and get it. And that's pretty much is it. It's over. Usually within a couple hours for us, usually 2-3 hour turnaround. Just, again, we don't have the space for it. So we want to get it out of there and move on to the next order.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is your process similar, Ariana?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar. I've, really encouraged my attendants, for example, like if someone drops off and we do, we separate. And if they come across something where there's like a pretty big stain on it, like I encourage them to call the customer and be like, hey, do you want us to do stain removal on this? It's an extra fee, of course, but I think the customers really appreciate like the attention to detail. And then I think there's a question here about hang drying. We totally hang dry. A lot of people request it. We have just a bunch of clothing racks in the back that we separate like with their order tag and, time that it's due. Sometimes, we'll let them know if they need hang dry items that it might not be ready right at their turnaround time. But we actually started using like some small fans underneath to kind of help speed up the process in a gentle way. And so, so we do that, and, we don't have any issues with hang dry or anything like that, but yeah, similar process.
So you're using the similar ticketing process basically to make sure. I mean, one of the questions was if people hang dry, I mean, now you got clothes that are being separated at different spots, right? How do you make sure that everything gets back together?
We highlight like hang dry on one of the bag tags, right? That's going to hang dry. So like we usually put the hang dry items in its own separate washer. So it just stays very separate. And we know which ones to hang dry. And then once we do, it's in the back. And then we have like a note, in their system that just says like, make sure you are including the hang dry items when you're returning the order.
Yeah. And that goes back to, training your staff to be meticulous about things, right? If they're going to hang dry something, they need to know that they have to put that in the system so that, when the customer's back or when things are getting put back, away to their shelf or wherever you're storing it, that, those clothes need to be reunited with each other, right? It needs to be in the system, needs to be highlighted on the bag or on the bag tag, and making sure that, everything is accounted for those clothes. And again, that's that meticulous tracking of everything and training of your staff there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick about laundry bags. There's a question about that. Do you guys sell the laundry bags, or do you use, Paul, it sounds like you use one type of bag for every order. Is that the case?
Well, for our drop off, it's whatever they bring it in. I mean, we sell bags, we sell laundry bags.
Okay.
I have a local guy that actually makes all cloth bags, which the customers prefer over some of the lighter materials. So, but that's totally up to the customer if they want to buy one. Now, for our pickup and delivery, they get a free bag, and that's more of the bigger format that Cleaner Supply sells. They've got a handle and a little slot where you can put the ticket that they can see through. So we give one of those to you on your first order. So we have both of those systems going. But a lot of people who do the drop off, some people bring it in a laundry basket and want the laundry basket back. That's fine. We'll do that for you, whatever you guys want. But if they want a bag, we'll certainly sell it to them.
Yeah, we sell bags for sure. And then we put all of our orders in these biodegradable Rhino bags. They're just like a clear plastic bag. And so it helps keep all the air out, keeps less wrinkles, stuff doesn't move around, which is really nice. And so we put that, and then we'll put it in basically the bag that they brought their stuff in, or hamper or whatever. We only ask that the the bag or, receptacle that they bring their clothes in can close all the way, because we don't want to be responsible for things like falling out or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do the same thing. I mean, we put the poly bag too. We'll put it in there. I mean, it's always a poly bag. We like to fold it. It's a nice block. It's a nice cube that we have. So it's kind of cool looking, and it fits in nice and easy. It's easy to stack that way too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. That's helpful. Do you guys have your staff read all the labels of everything and wash accordingly? Do you guys separate stuff out? Do you have customers do that? How does that work?
Oh, like the labels on the clothing?
The wash labels? Yeah.
Oh, no, we'll separate by like color, always. And then, or like, and then some customers are specific by item type. If they're like, oh, I want my bedding in one and I want this and that. So we'll do that. But yeah, no, it's challenging to read every garment tag, I think.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, we have trained them pretty good to, as they're loading the machines, to kind of recognize, well, wait a minute, that feels a little silky, or
Too silky, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, so they've gotten really good at recognizing those things and pulling them out, and then looking at the label. Oh, wait, this is dry clean only. We can't do that. We don't have too many of the drop offs do that. We have more of our pickup and delivery where we have that issue more instances, I think.
Yeah. And like you said, like once you do laundry for, a while, you get the feel for, what stuff needs to, how stuff needs to be washed and what they can be washed with and all that stuff. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Ariana, maybe I can ask you this. Does Sense help out? Is there any marketing integrated with it? Is there any way to help you kind of get the word out? How are you getting the word out about your service?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that's definitely on the roadmap for Sense, is to basically help operators, kind of create a marketing strategy. But ultimately, I think it's great that Sense already has the platform for you to use. But you do have to put in some manpower behind like exposure and letting people know. So at first we did like a lot of in-store signage, and just letting like our current customers know that like it's available now. And then once we kind of saw things ramping up is when we hired like a digital marketing guru. I don't know. I can't do their job. So, but basically they do all of our like Google Analytics and Facebook ads, and they create content for us. And it's really nice because it can be super targeted to your area, which laundry is, right? You're not like marketing on a national level. So it's, I would suggest even having someone set that up for you if you don't know, is really helpful, because it can be really easy to kind of like throw money down the drain because like the algorithms change so frequently. But it's a really great way to get exposure, and then of course like conversions and people actually use the service.
Yeah, you got to have an expert in that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I was a computer major in college, and Google is so far beyond anything I can imagine. I mean, there's just no way. I tried doing it myself early on, and I was actually getting calls from people I met at different events and stuff. Like, we're getting Google ads in Colorado for you. I'm like, that's not really. Yeah. So that's why I decided to hire somebody to take care of that.
Yeah, your radius really expanding there, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the private jet flying to Denver.
Pick up and delivery.
Yeah.
High class.
Listen, we got to have at least 3 orders coming out of an area to send the PJ out there to get it. Man. All right. Listen, you want the private jet. Follow Paul's model here. Let's talk about what are some of the kind of the essential key considerations that people need to keep in mind when starting a wash and fold business. What are the kind of categories of things that they need to be thinking about and planning for?
Like how to organize it?
Yeah, just things that you need to think about. Like we jotted down some notes on our little sheet that we did beforehand, talking about that stuff. Maybe we can chat about some of those points.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I see staff and labor. So that's obviously an integral part of Washable because you need staff. But I think, I know, don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's just really training people how to do everything really consistently. You know, when we onboard someone, it's a 3 kind of day process, not full days, but it's 3 days. And we have like you know, there's training, of course, on like the machines and troubleshooting and how to work them and, you know, all the stuff within the laundromat. And then we do a training on Sense and how to use the software. And then, of course, there's a training on how to process wash and fold. And, you know, it's one way for personal customers. And we have different commercial accounts. We have to train them on like the complexities of that. But yeah, it's just really important and we have like quarterly, like all hands meetings to just make sure that I'm answering questions for people. If we have new staff, everyone's on the same page. It's a nice way for everyone to meet each other since we have 2 stores. So yeah, that's what I would say for that point.
Yeah, I guess for me, it just, one of the big considerations, do you want to do it? I mean, a lot of people are in the laundromat business because there's no receivables, there's in many cases, no employees. So, if you're in that position and you're just doing it as more passive income, you might not want to do it because it is work. I mean, it's, there's customer relations, there's training, like we've talked about, there's all those items you got to take into consideration if you want to do this.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I would also really encourage people who are starting it to like be an attendant themselves for like X amount of time to really learn like any pain points or how to do things. It's much easier to train someone, of course, when you've been doing it. And so I think I was an attendant for at least a year or something. But yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Paul, not to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Yeah, the other thing that is just learning about chemistry, which is something I didn't, I just figured all soaps were the same. I had no idea, and it took, there's a lot that goes into what chemistry you use for laundry, what soap products you use, what's the best. You got to decide on what do you want to use. Do you want to use a powder? Do I want to use a liquid? Do I want to use a name brand like Tide, or do I want to use a more commercial brand? I mean, those are all considerations that you have to learn. Fortunately, there's a lot of good people out there who can answer that. I mean, I'm fortunate. I know anyone who reads Planet Laundry, there's Wash with Wally, who's a legend in our business. He's owned one of the biggest soap distributors in the Midwest for many years. He's an older fellow now, but he's been invaluable with that. He could just sit there and tell me about, this is what you want to use for this stain. This is what you want to use for this product, how you use it. I mean, stuff that I had no idea. It's very helpful to learn that type of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those are great. Can we talk for a second about commercial accounts? Are you guys doing many commercial accounts? Are you doing mainly commercial accounts?
Yeah, we have a few commercial accounts. I wouldn't say it's the majority of our wash and fold business, but we have like some pretty bigger ones, like, to the point where like they have their own pickup and delivery system, which kind of takes the pressure off of us. But and then we have like local restaurants, clinics, salons that we also process for.
Yeah, we have a few, mostly smaller, nothing too big. The commercial clients that we'd love to have who contact us are like hotels and stuff, but we don't have the equipment. We don't have one of the, big pressing machine and mangle to do that kind of work. So we have to, or the packaging, they want it packaged a certain way. We just don't have the space or the ability to do that. So we can, we'll pick up like the occasional spa, a couple, we got an airport where we get their blankets. If people have to sleep overnight in the terminal, we'll get their blankets, that type of thing, but nothing too major. Like to get into it more, but don't have the facility for it.
Yeah. There are some unique needs for certain commercial accounts. I know a lot of people who are doing wash, I fold, or pick up and delivery. Commercial accounts are doing like towel services. So, restaurants, salons, hotels, stuff like that, where they have like smaller hotels, motels where they have, towels, washcloths, napkins, stuff like that. That's a little bit smaller. When you get to a little bit larger scale, you got to have some specialized equipment for that, or it helps to have specialized equipment for that. Okay. Another question that came in: different types of people you have working with you, for you, to help you build your business. For example, you mentioned marketing guru. Man, critical to have the guru.
Yeah.
Attendance, maintenance, etc. Anybody else, any other kind of employee that you would throw in there?
No, maintenance. I mean, if you want like a bigger social media presence, and that's not your forte, as it is not quite my forte, you can hire like a social media content person to really like push out, more exposure that way. But I would say you'll probably get like a lot more traction with like Google ads and Facebook ads than maybe you would with that to start. Yeah, maintenance, employees, staff, and then someone to handle your advertising.
Yeah, a good distributor helps, whether it's an equipment distributor or a product distributor, where you get your soaps and your bags and that kind of stuff, to have somebody you can talk to, that helps.
Personal masseuse, private pilot to fly your private jet.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it can go on and on. No, yeah. I mean, I think that sums it up. And there's different people who run their businesses differently. Some people who have multiple stores will have, a management structure in place where they have, a manager overseeing their stores, or a regional manager overseeing some of their stores, and, on and on and on. They can build a hierarchy depending on how big your business gets. So yeah, man, how about we do this to close this thing up? Cause we're coming to the end here. One tip from each of you on two different subjects, similar, but different. Okay. Your best tip for somebody who wants to start a wash, dry, fold service for their laundromat. What's the number one thing you would tell them to either that they should know or that they should do to get started?
Ooh, get a software system to help you. Yeah, it would be really important to keep organized. We started out with pen and paper, and I don't recommend that.
Yeah. And real quick, just to kind of piggyback on that, the software system obviously is going to make managing this service a lot better, and obviously, we've got Ariana, who's this, now working with Sense, and, Sense hosting this webinar. So definitely check out Sense. In fact, I'll make sure a link gets put in the chat over here if you want to at least take a look at Sense and see, trisense.com/demo, and see what the product looks like. I know it's going to be a no pressure kind of demo for you so that you can take a look at that software. But also the other thing about this, getting a software system, yes, it's going to help you manage your business better. But also the other thing that a software that has good customer service, which I would say Sense does, is going to offer you is some insight into how the best people that are using their software are using it to run their business. And so you're not starting from scratch at that point. You have also, a software system to help you manage, but you also kind of have a partner in helping guide you to get this thing off the ground as well. So Paul, what's your number one tip?
Talk to people in the industry that have done it. I mean, we're so interconnected now. It's so easy to find other people. And I found that most people in our industry are willing to help and talk to others. So whether it's going on some of the message boards, listening to podcasts like Jordan's, joining the CLA, which I'm a big proponent of. I mean, there are experts out there that are willing to help you and will really get you steering in the right direction.
Yeah. Awesome tip. All right. Last question for both of you. Give me one tip for somebody who currently has a wash, dry, fold service to help them maybe take their service to the next level.
I would say if you can and you're willing to do a pickup delivery, I just think that there's just a lot of opportunity in that space. So that would be my tip.
I would say the same thing. I mean, if you've gotten the wash, dry, fold pretty well figured out in the system, I mean, adding something like that, whether it's through having a third party like DoorDash or having your own trucks, is definitely a way to increase what you're doing there.
Awesome. Well, let me point you guys over to the chat. There's trisense.com/demo. Head over there if you're interested in at least taking a look at that software system. There's other software systems out there too you can take a look at. I feel like I can say that here because I think Sense is pretty confident that even if you go check out other people, you're going to wander back to them because they're pretty confident they have the best thing out there. So, but go check out Sense, trysense.com/demo. The other link that's in there is a white paper that you can download for free, I believe, on Wash, Dry, Fold. So go download that, how to start Wash, Dry, Fold service. That's a free white paper Sense put together for you. So those are your two kind of go-tos. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. Ariana, Paul, you guys are rock stars. Like no joke, rock stars.
Always the best host, Jordan, really. And very Brad Pitt-like.
Yeah. Oh man, that stung a little bit because of the sarcasm.
It's true. I say it with 100%.
Thank you. No, but seriously, guys, really, really appreciate. I'm just going to speak for everybody who's on this thing right now. Just appreciate you guys taking the time. I know that nobody's paying you to be here, but you're here sharing what you know, sharing what you do with everybody else to try to help other people achieve their financial goals. Which super, super appreciate that. Super admirable. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys.
Laundry.
That does it for our webinar. We will see you at the next one. There's another one coming up next month, so stay tuned for that. See you guys.
Bye.